welcome back to What Did You Learn? I'm your host, Ahava Leaptag, and I am very excited to have my good friends and colleagues here today from Greystone, Kathy Divis and Mike Schneider. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mike, why don't you start?
Right.
Okay, great. I'm Mike Schneider. I'm Executive Vice President and Principal at Greystone. Gosh, I've been here for almost 25 years, which is hard to believe. But I've been in healthcare marketing for about 30. I worked for a healthcare system in Ohio for a while, and I also worked at the National Home Office of the American Cancer Society for a while. So anyway, healthcare marketing, been here a long time, have loved working at Greystone and being involved with the Healthcare Internet Conference and doing a lot of consulting work related to healthcare and the internet.
Yeah. And you just published this amazing survey that you gave this webinar about. That was incredible. So we'll definitely put it in the show notes for people to check out that link, because I learned so much during that webinar. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing how healthcare marketing has changed during the pandemic and how people are pivoting to be able to meet the challenges that are out there.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that. But Kathy, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm president of Greystone Net, have been here since the beginning, which is a little over 25 years now. Really am involved in everything from our product development to our conferences like HCIC, which of course this year is going virtual like all of the conferences, to our consulting practices. And before we were Greystone, I was actually responsible for marketing at 3 academic medical centers. And so I've been on both the provider side and on the consulting side and the vendor side for 25, 30 years now.
Wow. That's a combined experience of half a century. That's quite impressive. So just tell us a little bit about how you spent quarantine. Kathy, I'm friends with you on Facebook. You have a lot of great hobbies. And so did you do anything special or take up anything new while you were in lockdown?
You know, not a whole lot of new. I mean, I do a lot of gardening, so I've really enjoyed that. And so I've spent some time on that. I have learned to be a very good banana bread baker, like so many different people. And I think the other thing that I've tried to do is just try to put as much funny, humorous stuff as I can on Facebook, but because I'm so tired of everybody else's political posts and COVID posts. So I try to pretty routinely put something in there that's humorous, that gives people a relief.
Yeah, you have a ton of great memes about like 2020. They're
yeah.
So good. Forget this.
I steal them all, but that's okay.
And Mike, how about you? Did you learn anything new or bake?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's routine is pretty much upside down, and I have 3 kids and a wife who we're all out of the house every day, and now they're all in the house every day. So it's and they're in school and she's at work, and so anyway, that's a long way of saying there's a lot of noise going on in our house. At any given point in time, there might be 5 Zoom calls going on at the same time. So it's kind of managing the chaos, getting better at cooking family meals at home. And then one of those fringe things that I don't think anybody would have ever guessed that I would do is that I discovered Duolingo during quarantine. And so I've been brushing up on Spanish and Portuguese in between time to kind of take my mind off of everything.
That's awesome. That's great. I've played Settlers of Catan. That's what I've learned how to do. And obviously continue my jigsaw puzzle obsession. What would have prepared us all for this a lot better? And Kathy, if we can start with you.
Well, you actually kind of took my answer, because I was going to say I wish I had known that it would last this long. But I think, you know, in a lot of ways, that's one of the things that I really do wish I knew, because had we known back in March that we would still be at this in, you know, August or September or later, you know, you might have made different decisions about a few things. But I think I really wish that I would have understood how dramatically it was going to change everything. You know, we thought this was going to be a 2 or 3 week hiatus, and it's not. And so I think the world's changed dramatically now. And had we known that then, maybe we would have made little different decisions. But I don't even know if we really could have.
Yeah, it's an unfolding situation every day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I used to ask people what are the 6 words that you would use to describe this time period, and mine are what fresh hell is it today? Because there were literally like moments where you're just like, wait a second. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally hear that. There's almost nothing that you could have really done.
Yeah, and my 6 words would be, I've learned to become an optimistic warrior.
Great.
Because I really do. I mean, I worry all the time, and I try to be optimistic, and I try to balance those two things together, and it's really tough some days.
Mike, what do you wish you had known?
Yeah, well, I want to hit on the time thing too, because I'm sure that's everybody's answer, right? And I mean, where I go with that is that it has to do with anxiety. I think if you had some sense that if at the beginning somebody said, this is going to continue all the way through the end of the year, you would have set your expectations properly. But just like you said, Ahava, I mean, it's a different change every day. So we went from, we might not be back in the office for 2 months, and then it was going to be 4 months, and then there was a point where we said, well, thank God we at least have healthcare internet conference in November, because by then surely things will be back to normal. And so it's like the timeline changes every week or every day, and that was really a big one. I would like to have realized how much of a toll it was going to take on healthcare marketers. I was on a call today with somebody who worked all through Labor Day, is going to be in the office tonight until 8, and half the stuff they're doing is the kind of thing that they weren't doing before the pandemic. So it's taxing on all of us, and over a long period of time.
So let's talk about that, because I think this is really fascinating. You have seen this industry for a very long time. And one of the radical things that I think that this brought about that I really never thought I would see in my career in healthcare marketing is that healthcare marketers have more respect than they ever have from the industry, particularly from the C-suite, which really saw them rally. And I feel like some leaders are like, oh, wow, now I know why we have a marketing and communications department. Like, I always kind of thought that was like a cost center we should get rid of. And so, like, when you're looking at this from the historical perspective that you both have, do you think that's going to last? Do you think that there's going to be, like you're saying, people are asked to do more things? I find there's a lot more customer service in marketing now. Do you think that will last, or do you think when this is over, it'll just go back to being the least respected but most important thing we have in the hospital?
I think that marketing has moved to a very strategic level, where it's historically been a little bit tactical in many organizations. Run this ad, develop this brochure, build this site. I think for the first time, maybe a lot in the C-suite are understanding the strategy behind marketing and communications, which perhaps they didn't in the past.
Well, that will be exciting to see. So here's my next question for you, because your survey revealed that people expect their budgets to drop. So if the C-suite finally has come to the realization that this could actually not just be a cost center, but a revenue center, like you said, Kathy, so if we know that this respect is there and it's going to last, do you think that they'll get the budgets that they need? Because I have never seen them been asked to do more with less, and they're typically asked to do more with less. So this is like, it was rice paper thin, now it's almost non-existent, the resources that they have. So how are the C-suite going to balance the problem with falling revenue because of the pandemic, but also the need to feed money into this, what they previously perceived as a cost center?
I mean, I'll say, I think it's a short-term and long-term answer to that question. I mean, in the short run, the budget is not related to the value that people see in marketing these days. That's not the issue. The issue is they don't have the money. We had a bad year. I mean, the worst year probably ever in most hospitals and healthcare systems. So that's why you see the short-term drop on the budget. But when the world goes back to whatever, I hate using the word new normal, but that thing that's going to happen,
I say rebound.
Aren't wearing masks anymore, then there's going to be a moment in time where we really can seize the day in healthcare. And I feel like percentage-wise, based on whatever that current budget's going to be back in the future, percentage-wise, I think there will be an increase in the percent marketing budget, because organizations are going to be looking to leverage that opportunity.
Yeah, I like that answer a lot.
And I do think there's going to be a point in time where at least the more contemporary CEOs are going to realize that they have to spend money in marketing in order to drive volume back into the organization. So again, I don't know if we're going to see that rebound in 2020, but I think in 2021 we will begin to, because people will understand that they've got to put the resources behind the demand generation. There's so much more integration of marketing with hospital operations. And so, you know, now on your website, you can pay your bill and you can schedule an appointment and you can do a variety of things that you couldn't do before. And those things aren't going away. We've just accelerated the transformation from a digital perspective. So I'm going to be optimistic again that this is going to be something that's going to be for the good and will stay.
Yeah. No, I like to say that in 20 years, marketing will be called customer experience. It'll still be marketing, but I think it'll be underneath this new umbrella of thinking it through in a very different way. Mike, do you see that from talking to your clients, that they feel like this newfound respect, and do you think it will last?
I mean, definitely. I mean, first of all, you kind of referenced the survey that we did, but that was one of the moments of greatest, aha moment, if you will. And that's one of the things that folks said, as a silver lining coming out of the pandemic. The most commonly noted item was that there is so much more respect for marketing and communications. And when you read into some of that and you really talk to folks that are in the industry that are, and feet on the ground, one of the things that you're seeing a lot is not only that the C-suite understands marketing communications better, but they're also helping to drive a more dynamic definition of what marketing and communications is. So it's more, which is not surprising to any of us, but it is surprising to some people in the organization that it's more than just billboards and graphics on the website and search engine marketing and that kind of thing. I mean, it's everything from helping out the people in human resources to craft what the new policies are going to be related to how we get back in the office, and building whatever content needs to be built to get that message out there to your employees. So they're really leveraging the marketing and communication staff to do this wider variety of tasks within the organization. And so it's whatever marketing and communications in a box used to look like, it's not going to look like that in the future, I think, in the eyes of senior leadership.
So this show is called What Did You Learn? What did you learn? And you're continuing to learn. I know that.
Well, I guess one thing I would say is I learned that I can do with a lot less than I thought I could. From a material perspective, I've learned that I miss my family tremendously, and the contact of the everyday conversations. But I think what I've really learned, and it's more of a personal than a work related thing, is just that when it really gets down to it, you need less than you think you really need to be happy and to persevere, and that you have strength inside you to go through all of this and come out on the other end. It's a very trying time for everybody, but we're making it.
What did you learn besides the fact that you'd like Kathy to adopt your family, Mike?
I learned that I can escape to the office to get away from them all. No, I'm just kidding. They're not watching this, so it doesn't matter. But, I think that three things that are words that I've tried to use over and over again: flexibility, patience, and creativity. And I'm not going to say that they're all plentiful all the time, because there are a lot of times where I'm really short on patience or creativity or flexibility. But if you can leverage those three things, it gets back to kind of what Kathy was saying. I mean, you can learn to do with less. You can learn to be more creative with the resources that you have. You learn to make it up as you go along. And maybe I'd even add a fourth one and call it grace, because I think that we've all learned to give each other a little more grace. When you're on a webinar call, a Zoom call, maybe you've got 5 or 6 a day, and people's cats and dogs are walking across the screen. That used to be a thing where you were, oh my God, you have a heart seizure because your cat came in the room. Now it's just like you sit there and pet the cat and keep going with your Zoom call.
So true. Okay, it's 2 years from now. Where's HCIC going to be in 2 years?
Is that Miami?
It's going to be in Florida. Yeah, it's in Miami.
2 days after the conference, where both of you have like come out of your stupor, and we're sitting around having cocktails, floating in the pool, and I turn to both of you and I say, what have you kept with you? Like, what lesson do you just continue to drive forward with from 2020 and this experience?
One thing that I know, and I'm going to say, I think this is a probably unanimous answer for just about everybody, is that if we had all had to learn one thing, it is to get better at something like this. You know, using virtual communication, and I've been, you know, sitting in on some webinars about how to present to the small screen instead of the big screen. You know, I have a light in my office to be able to light me up for a conference call. I've got a better camera on my computer. I mean, those are things that everybody has now. You know, background. I actually think about what's behind me now. You know, so I think we're all learning those kind of like at-home production skills or in the office production skills, and it's going to be great. Because I want to just say this, like it's a, what do you call it, opposite ends. But on one end, we all do have to get better at using virtual, because there are some times where it's a lot better use of our time and energy to do something like a Zoom call than it is to actually be in person. But the other thing that I'm going to say, which is the opposite, is that it has also taught me that the in-person stuff is so valuable. I mean, sitting in on several online conferences all year, and we're going to have our own here in a couple months, people are dying to get back to a real conference and see their buddies and share a beer and shake hands or give a hug or whatever, and actually sit together and have a conversation. And this virtual stuff doesn't replace that.
You know, it's not the same, but, you know, the one thing that I think I have learned is that it's really pretty good in a lot of ways. Because now when I have a meeting that's just an audio meeting, just a phone meeting, I feel like I'm missing out because I can't see that Ahava is shaking her head yes right now. And I can't, you know, understand all the nuances. And so there is real value in this virtual communications, and it doesn't replace personal, and it never is, I don't think. And I think as soon as we can get back to in-live meetings, we all want to do that. But there is real value in being able to connect with somebody virtually without getting on a plane. You know, I mean, we're having very productive client meetings online, you know, through virtual meetings. You know, maybe not quite as good as if you were in person, but lots of good communication. So I think it's going to be here to stay. I mean, I halfway expect HCIC in 2022 to be a hybrid, you know, event of live activity and probably virtual activity. I don't see that. I'm not sure I see that going away in the future. There's going to be some that'll be virtual and some things that'll be live right now.
Where can people find you?
They can find us at greystone.net, www.greystone.net, or at hcic.net for our conference. Reach out to us. We're available by email, phone, any way you want to chat.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that are listening or watching, you must register for HCIC. I don't care if it's from the moon, virtual, hybrid, whatever it is, it's the best conference of the year. If you're in healthcare marketing, particularly in digital and strategy, you'll never learn more. There's no place to learn more. And I'll be there.
That's right.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
Thank you, Kathy and Mike, both so much for being here. I really enjoyed it, and I know that our audience is going to enjoy eavesdropping on all our great knowledge. So thank you so much.
Well,
I'll see you next time.
Thanks for including us.